Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we have a fun and scary dialogue.
That's right. This lesson is full of language you can use to talk about being scared.
All right, so we're going to be looking at a scary lesson today, and we have nothing to preview, so let's listen to this dialogue and see why everyone is so scared.
Eddie, why are we at this scary-looking mansion? It's ultra spooky.
I told you already, Shabby. The owner of the house says there's a ghost haunting his house, so we have to go in and investigate.
I don't like this.
Come on, guys. Stop being such cowards. It's a mystery and an adventure.
This place gives me the creeps. Seriously, guys, let's get out of here. I'm getting goosebumps just being here.
Shabby is a scaredy cat.
That laugh came from this room. Let's go and check it out.
Look, a ghost! Run!
Well, that sounds really scary, but actually it kind of reminds me of another
Dialogue.
TV show.
Very similar to another TV show, but it's different.
But some interesting language that you can use to talk about things that are scary. So why don't we look at that now in Language Takeaway?
Language takeaway.
So let's start with the very first line of our dialogue. Shabby described the mansion to be ultra spooky.
It's ultra spooky.
Spooky.
So, okay, we've got two interesting words here, ultra and spooky. Now, spooky is scary, right?
It's a little bit scary. It maybe makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, or maybe it makes you feel a little bit scared.
Okay, so not very scared.
Not super scared.
But ultra spooky.
So ultra is another way of saying super or very or really spooky.
So if it's ultra spooky, then it's
Very scary.
okay. All right. So our next word, they said that in the house.
Okay, there is a ghost haunting his house.
Okay. So the verb to haunt.
Okay, to haunt. So the ghost is coming to the house frequently and not letting them live in peace.
When a ghost haunts something, it visits it often and scares it.
Exactly. Now, they were all afraid and they didn't want to go in. And so Wilma called everyone cowards.
Stop being such
Cowards.
so
A coward is a person that's not brave.
a person who's scared of everything.
Exactly. So they were being cowards. They were afraid. So that's why they didn't want to go in.
Well, speaking of being afraid, Shabby said, I'm getting goosebumps.
Goosebumps.
To get goosebumps.
All right, to get goosebumps. Now, goosebumps, it may sound a little bit strange, but it's very easy when you're scared or maybe you're cold. The skin on your arms or on your back, it gets a little bit bumpy.
So your skin looks like chicken skin.
Exactly, chicken skin. And that's actually how we call it in Spanish, chicken skin. But this is goosebumps, so I guess it's kind of similar. A goose,
Other
Yeah,
example.
same idea.
goosebumps.
All right, and finally, Scruffy said, Shabby is a scaredy cat.
A scaredy cat.
A scaredy cat.
You're a scaredy cat.
Well, a scaredy cat is not really a cat, right?
No. It's a person who is afraid of everything.
Okay.
Similar to a coward.
But more informal.
Much more informal. So somebody is a scaredy cat. And I think even a little bit more juvenile. As
So
adults.
children use it.
Yeah, as adults, you wouldn't say he's a scaredy cat.
All right, great. So some interesting, scary language. I think we need to hear it one more time, slowed down in the dialogue.
Eddie, why are we at this scary-looking mansion? It's ultra spooky.
I told you already, Shabby. The owner of the house says there's a ghost haunting his house, so we have to go in and investigate.
I don't like this.
Come on, guys. Stop being such cowards. It's a mystery and an adventure.
This place gives me the creeps. Seriously, guys, let's get out of here. I'm getting goosebumps just being here.
Shabby is a scaredy cat.
That laugh came from this room. Let's go and check it out.
Look, a ghost! Run!
So now that we understand all the vocabulary we saw in Language Takeaway, why don't we take a look at two phrases now in Fluency Builder?
Fluency builder.
Well, Shabby said, we're at this scary-looking mansion.
Scary looking mansion.
So a scary looking mansion.
So the mansion looks scary.
All right, so a mansion is a big house, right? That looks very scary. Now, this is a really useful and helpful pattern you can use with English. Something looking, so adjective looking.
Right, so you can say good looking.
And there's lots of examples, so why don't we hear a few more now?
Example 1.
That guy is making me nervous. He's really creepy looking.
Example 2. I saw the craziest looking house today. It was built upside down. Example 3.
What a nice looking dog. Can I pet him?
All right, great examples, and now we know how we can combine looking with different adjectives.
Our next phrase, Shabby said, this place gives me the creeps.
All right, gives me the creeps.
To give someone the creeps.
So if something gives you the creeps,
it makes you feel uncomfortable and scared.
Maybe scared, maybe nervous.
Okay, so why don't we give some examples?
Vocabulary preview.
Hey, Marco, see that guy over there? He keeps looking at me. He's giving me the creeps.
Okay. Or I can say clowns give me the creeps.
Oh, that's right. You're afraid of clowns.
I am afraid of clowns.
Okay.
They give me the creeps.
All right. Well, it's a really helpful, useful phrase to use when you're talking about being afraid. Now, why don't we listen to the dialogue one final time?
Eddie, why are we at this scary-looking mansion? Ultra spooky.
I told you already, Shabby. The owner of the house says there's a ghost haunting his house, so we have to go in and investigate.
I don't like this.
Come on, guys, stop being such cowards. It's a mystery and an adventure.
This place gives me the creeps. Seriously, guys, let's get out of here. I'm getting goosebumps just being here.
Shabby is a scaredy cat.
That laugh came from this room. Let's go and check it out.
Look, a ghost! Run!
So an interesting dialogue about ghosts and haunted houses. So what do you think, Erica? Do you believe in ghosts? Have you ever seen a ghost?
I totally do not believe in ghosts, but I understand that you disagree with me.
Well, I've experienced strange things, but I don't know if it was a ghost or an alien. I don't know. It could have been anything.
Again.
An invisible alien.
So what happened?
Well, once I was having dinner with my parents, and we had a table, and on top of the table there was a glass full of water. And all of a sudden it started to move across the table, and then it started to spin while it moved.
So was there an earthquake or something happening?
No, nothing. We were just, the only thing on the whole table that was moving was that, and we all just stared at the glass moving, and we didn't know what to do. And then my mom started kind of giggling, a nervous laugh, and we really didn't know what happened.
Now, I understand that in Latin America, people are more superstitious. They believe more in ghosts, right?
Exactly. In Latin America, people are very superstitious. They believe in ghosts or in spirits, or we have a lot of urban legends about, like a leprechaun that lives under a bridge, or, somebody's grandma that comes and haunts them or visits them at night and stuff like that. So yeah, Latin American people are very superstitious in this sense.
Yeah, I think in Anglo countries, it's a little bit less common to say that you believe in ghosts. Maybe inside you think ghosts are true, but you wouldn't really tell people that.
Right. I think the difference would be that you have a different type of superstition. People are afraid of black cats.
Right.
Or the floor or the number 13.
Yeah, or opening your umbrella in a house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So because they consider it to be bad luck, but not because something like a ghost or an alien is going to come out and eat them.
So listeners, why don't you tell us what you think about ghosts? Are people superstitious in your country? Do they believe in ghosts?
Come to our website, englishpod.com, and let us know, and we'll see you guys there.
Well, thanks for downloading, and goodbye.
Bye.
Second paragraph in the dialogue.
All right, so get this. Today, we are doing a deep dive, and it's all about fashion in language.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It was sparked by a couple getting ready to go to a dinner party.
Okay.
And you know that feeling when you're like running late?
Yeah.
And your partner's like moving in slow motion? Well, this is kind of like that.
Okay.
But it's not just about time. It's like a fashion emergency.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going deep into an English pod episode.
All right.
And it's where a husband's interesting outfit choices
Okay.
lead to some really funny back and forth with his wife.
Right.
And we get to learn some fashion vocabulary. And,
Yeah.
we see some relatable couple moments.
Yeah, I see.
So the dialogue starts
Okay.
with the wife just exasperated.
Oh, no.
Honey, come on. We're going to be late.
Other example.
Honestly, you take longer to get ready than I do.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah. And then we find out what the problem is.
Okay.
He's standing there in front of the mirror,
Uh-huh.
and he just looks lost with all these clothes.
Ah.
And then he asks this really simple but loaded question. Do you like the way this looks?
Oh, boy.
And the outfit? Oh, my goodness.
What is it?
Okay, so somehow he managed to put together a striped shirt,
Okay.
short-sleeved, with a checkered sweater
Uh-huh.
and sandals
Bills.
for a dinner party.
Oh, no. That's a fashion disaster waiting to happen.
I know, right? But you almost have to admire the confidence.
Yeah, that's true. It takes a certain level of boldness to pull that off.
Right. But in terms of, style,
Yeah,
there are some red flags here.
absolutely.
So the episode actually says that he lacks fashion sense,
Oh, okay.
which I think it's more than just knowing the names of clothes,
Yeah, definitely. It's about putting things together in a way that looks good and feels appropriate.
Right. And it's like, for the occasion, your own personal style.
Absolutely.
So it's different to know what stripes and checks are versus actually putting together a good outfit.
Exactly.
So I'm curious,
Yeah.
what are some of the words that come to mind?
When you think about this fashion fiasco,
Yeah.
well, we've got striped and checkered, of course,
Right.
to describe those patterns.
Mhm.
Like a striped shirt has lines across it,
Wow.
and a checkered pattern has squares, alternating colors like a checkerboard.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we can't forget short-sleeved versus long-sleeved, which might seem basic,
Right.
but it's really important, especially if you're learning English.
Right.
You need to know how to describe clothes
Uh-huh.
for shopping or even just understanding basic instructions.
Right. Like dress warmly.
Exactly.
Okay. So back to our stylishly challenged husband.
Okay.
His wife says, "What am I going to do with you?"
Oh, yeah.
I love that line.
It's classic.
It's so funny, but also kind of like, oh, honey.
Exactly. It's that mix of amusement and exasperation, like, you're trying my patience, but I still love you.
Yeah. And it really shows how language can be so much more than the literal meaning,
Absolutely. It's all about the tone, the context, that shared understanding between two people.
It's like a secret code that couples have.
I love that. A secret code.
Okay, so before we go too deep into relationships,
Okay.
let's get back to the fashion.
All right.
The husband uses this interesting phrase. He talks about the hemline of the shorts he's thinking of wearing.
Oh, hemline. That's usually used for women's clothing, isn't it?
Yeah, like the bottom edge of a skirt or dress.
Right.
But he's talking
Vocabulary
about shorts.
preview.
Oh, that's funny.
I know, right?
It just adds to the humor of the whole situation.
It does.
Like he's borrowed his wife's fashion vocabulary, but doesn't quite know how to use it.
Totally.
So what does she suggest instead of this fashion disaster?
She recommends something more classic.
Like what?
A shirt with a silk tie
Oh, okay.
and corduroy pants.
The trusty silk tie.
I know.
A classic.
And corduroy. Oh, I remember. I had a
Sure.
corduroy jacket back in the day.
Yeah, it's got that distinct texture.
Yes.
And the episode points out it's a heavier fabric,
Oh, right.
more for colder weather.
Which is kind of funny because,
Yeah.
they're going to a dinner party inside.
Yeah. So he's not just fashion challenged, he's also missing the mark on climate appropriateness.
I'm sensing a theme here.
I know, right? But it's clever how the episode uses these mishaps to teach us vocabulary
Yeah.
and also cultural insights,
Uh-huh.
It's not just about the words.
Right.
It's about how to use them in real life.
It's like a sneaky language lesson disguised as a funny couple's conversation.
Exactly.
But speaking of fashion,
Yeah.
let's move beyond this dinner party
Okay.
and venture into high fashion.
Oh, interesting.
I've always been fascinated by those runway shows,
Me too.
but also a little confused.
Yeah. Why do they wear those crazy outfits?
Yeah, it's so different from what people actually wear.
Right.
Like it's another universe.
Totally.
So the episode actually talks about this.
Really?
Yeah, and it says that runway shows aren't for everyday wear.
Oh.
It's more about setting trends, experimenting with designs, pushing boundaries.
So it's more about artistic expression then.
Yeah, like wearable sculptures.
I like that. Wearable sculpture.
They inspire, not to be copied exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like a visual spectacle where designers show their vision
Uh-huh.
and influence future trends.
Okay.
They mention military-inspired looks and platform shoes. as examples.
Right. Those are definitely things you see on the runway.
And then sometimes those things end up in stores.
Right. But in a more toned down way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like they're planting seeds.
Oh, I like that.
And then those seeds become the styles we see.
Okay, so it all starts on the runway.
In a way. Yeah.
Now, the episode also mentions this idea of conspicuous consumption.
Oh, interesting. What's that?
It's basically how expensive, impractical clothing can be a status symbol.
Oh, right. Like those platform shoes.
Yeah, they're not just a fashion statement.
They're also about showing off wealth.
It's like a visual language of status and belonging.
That's fascinating. It's not just about the looks. It's about the social and economic factors, too.
Exactly. And speaking of expensive,
Yeah.
I've noticed designer clothes can be, well...
Pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you be stylish on a budget?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah. Asking for a friend, of course.
Of course. Well, the episode has some advice.
Okay, what is it?
It suggests checking out secondhand shops,
Okay.
prioritizing personal style over trends, and even mentions the fake market.
Oh, interesting.
But be careful with that one.
Yeah.
There are ethical considerations.
Right.
The fake market, you mean like knockoff designer stuff?
Yeah, you find it in some markets.
Yeah. It's a bit of a gray area.
It is.
But the episode presents it in a neutral way.
Okay.
Just lays out the facts and lets you decide.
That's good.
A balanced perspective.
So we've gone from basic clothing terms to runway trends and even counterfeit goods.
That's quite a journey.
And it all started because of a husband's outfit choice.
It just goes to show, even the most everyday situations can be learning opportunities.
It's like you unravel a thread and find this whole tapestry
I like that.
of language, culture.
And human behavior.
It's amazing what you can learn from a pre-dinner party fashion faux pas.
Absolutely. So much to unpack.
So before we move on,
Yeah.
did anything else about this catch your attention?
One thing that really stood out was that anecdote about the wife's friend.
Oh, yeah.
Who only wears sandals.
Okay.
Because she has claustrophobic feet.
I love that.
It's hilarious.
It is. It's such a good way to describe that.
And it really adds personality to the episode.
Yeah.
Makes it more engaging.
Right. So it's not just dry facts.
No, it's fun.
It's entertaining.
And it's interesting how they use that sandal example to explain the difference between sandals and flip-flops.
Oh, right. Because I think a lot of people use those interchangeably.
Yeah, but sandals have straps or buckles.
Okay.
And flip-flops are the ones with the thong between your toes.
Oh, right.
It's subtle but important.
It is.
Language can be very specific.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
We have.
Clothing terms, fashion sense, how couples talk to each other, runway trends, counterfeit goods.
It's a lot.
I know. For one little dinner party.
Before we wrap up this part, is there anything else you want to add?
You know what? One thing that struck me was how this whole situation, the husband's fashion faux pas.
Yeah.
It reveals those subtle power dynamics.
Oh, interesting.
And gender roles that often come up in relationships.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, on the surface, it's just a funny story about a husband and his clothes.
Right.
But if you look deeper, you can see hints of how men and women are viewed.
Oh, okay.
When it comes to fashion.
I see. So, like, in this case, the wife is clearly the one who knows more about fashion.
Exactly. She's the one guiding him toward a more acceptable look.
Right. And she's being helpful, but also kind of amused by it.
Right. It's a playful dynamic.
But it does make you wonder about these unspoken expectations, about men and women's roles in fashion.
I see. It adds another layer to the whole episode.
It does.
It's not just about language or clothes.
Yeah.
It makes you think about societal norms, too.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so compelling. It's informative, entertaining, and thought-provoking.
Yeah. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
I love that analogy.
It's fascinating.
It is.
Okay. I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to take a breath.
Okay.
Let everyone absorb all this.
Sounds good.
And we'll continue exploring in part 2.
All right.
See you then. Okay, so we're back, and we're still diving deep into fashion and language.
Still so much to talk about.
I know, right? And we're still talking about that English Pod episode, where the husband makes those questionable fashion choices.
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
And it's led us to some really interesting conversations about clothes, relationships.
And those little things we often take for granted.
Exactly. It's like that saying, the devil is in the details.
Ooh, I like that.
Sometimes it's those ordinary situations
that
can reveal the most interesting things.
Absolutely. And in this case, the details are the fashion mistakes.
Right, those faux pas.
Which, like we said, they're not just about the clothes themselves.
Right, it's deeper than that.
It's about expectations and gender and style.
And it reminds us that language isn't just words and grammar.
Oh, definitely not.
It's about understanding the culture.
The unspoken rules.
And the little things that make communication so interesting.
Yeah, those quirks.
And speaking of quirks...
Oh, you're going to bring up the claustrophobic feet comment again, aren't you?
I have to. It was just too good.
I know, it's so funny.
It's such a great way to describe someone's preference for shoes.
Yeah, like you get a glimpse of their personality.
And it's a good example of how the episode uses humor.
Yes. To make learning more fun.
Because it's not just boring definitions, right?
No, it's entertaining and the information sticks with you better.
And remember how they use that example?
With the sandals.
To talk about the difference between sandals and flip-flops?
Oh, right, because people often mix those up.
Yeah, they do.
But sandals have straps. Or buckles.
While flip-flops are more simple.
Yeah, with that thong between your toes.
It's a small difference, but it matters.
It shows how language can be so precise.
Even when describing ordinary things, it's like they're giving us a secret code to understand fashion.
I like that analogy.
But let's talk about the bigger themes for a minute.
Okay.
So we've talked about the words, the communication styles.
Yeah.
But what about style in general?
Trends, even the business side of fashion.
All those big ideas.
The episode does a great job of weaving those in.
It does. It's really clever.
We start with this lighthearted situation, the husband getting dressed. But then it expands outwards to these bigger concepts.
Like fashion sense.
Runway shows.
Yeah.
Even those fake designer goods.
It's like we're on this journey.
Through the world of fashion.
Yeah, starting small and then getting this wide view.
Exactly. And along the way, it makes us think about these deeper questions.
Like what makes something stylish?
Who decides what's fashionable?
Right. Is it about expressing yourself or following the crowd?
And how does money play into all of this?
Those are big questions. And I think that's what makes this episode so interesting.
Yeah, it gets you thinking.
It's not just about learning new words.
No, it's about thinking critically.
About the clothes we choose, the whole fashion industry.
It's about understanding that fashion isn't just about clothes, it's about culture and identity.
And like we said before, it's about power dynamics too.
You want to talk more about that, the gender roles in fashion?
I do. I'm really curious to hear more about that observation you made.
Yeah, so remember how we said it seems like a funny story about a husband who's clueless about fashion?
Yeah.
And the wife has to come in and save him? Well, if we look closely, that scenario actually reinforces certain ideas about men and women.
Okay, I see what you mean. Like, the wife is the one who's portrayed as having good taste.
Exactly. She's the fashion expert.
And the husband doesn't know what he's doing.
And she's helpful, but also kind of amused by his mistakes.
Which is funny.
It is, but it does perpetuate this idea that women are naturally better at fashion.
And men are just clueless?
Exactly, like in those old sitcoms where the husband can't even match his socks.
It's a stereotype, but it's still around.
It is, and it's important to be aware of those messages.
Because even humor can have these hidden meanings.
Absolutely.
About how we expect men and women to behave.
It makes me wonder if things are changing, though.
Yeah, are men getting more interested in fashion these days?
I think they are, definitely.
You see more men expressing themselves through their clothes now.
Yeah, there's more awareness of men's style.
But there's still a long way to go.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of breaking down those old barriers.
And having a more inclusive view of fashion.
All right, it's like we're in this in-between phase.
Yeah, things are shifting.
But the new norms aren't fully formed yet.
It's an exciting time to see how men's fashion is evolving.
And how it connects to those bigger changes in society.
Exactly. And this episode, with its funny take on this couple's fashion dilemma, it actually helps to make it okay to talk about these things.
Right, men and style.
It shows that it's okay for men to care about how they look.
And to ask for help if they need it.
Absolutely, because ultimately, fashion is about having fun and feeling confident.
It's about expressing your own unique personality.
So whether you're a fashion expert or just starting out.
It's about enjoying the journey.
Well said.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Me too. There's so much more to explore.
But I think it's time for a quick break.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll share some more takeaways.
Yeah.
And leave you with a thought-provoking question to consider.
Sounds good.
All right, we're back for the final part of our fashion and language deep dive.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. Remember, it all started with that English Pod episode.
Uh-huh. The one with the husband's fashion struggles.
Yeah, but it's turned into so much more.
It really has.
We've gone from basic clothing terms,
like striped and checkered,
and those big picture things like runway shows and gender role.
Or we even talk about counterfeit goods.
It's amazing how much we've uncovered.
It is. And it all started with a simple story.
A couple getting ready for dinner.
It's a testament to how powerful storytelling can be.
It really is, and how even humor can make you think about serious topics.
Like those societal norms we talked about.
Speaking of humor,
You're going to mention the claustrophobic feet comment again, aren't you?
I can't help it. It's just so memorable.
I know. It's a great example of how the episode makes learning fun.
It's not just about memorizing rules.
It's about those real-life expressions.
The things that make a language come alive.
And in this case, it's helping us understand fashion culture.
Exactly. It's like we're getting a glimpse into how people actually talk about clothes.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the main thing you want listeners to take away from this?
What should they remember about fashion and style?
I think the biggest takeaway is that fashion is more than just clothes.
Okay, I like that.
It's a way to express yourself.
A reflection of who you are.
And it's a powerful way to communicate.
It's like a visual language.
Yeah, it tells a story about you, your values, the culture you're part of.
In this episode, with its mix of humor and serious insights.
Right, those subtle observations about gender and power.
It makes us think about fashion in a whole new way.
It's not just about looking good.
It's about understanding the messages we send with our clothes.
And thinking critically about the fashion industry.
So as you go about your day, pay attention to what you see.
What people are wearing, the choices they make.
What do those choices tell you?
About the person, about society, even about yourself.
It's like a fashion treasure hunt.
I love that.
Looking for clues in every outfit.
And maybe finding some inspiration along the way.
Before we say goodbye, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier.
What's that?
The idea that men's relationship with fashion is changing.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one.
Is that a good thing, in your opinion?
I think so, definitely. For a long time, men have been limited by these narrow ideas of what it means to be masculine.
Right.
And fashion was seen as something for women.
But now, those lines are blurring.
Which is great. Men can express themselves more freely.
I agree. But are there challenges that come with that?
Sure, there's always pressure to fit in, to follow trends.
Or maybe some men worry about being judged.
Yeah, if they care too much about their appearance.
But it's about finding that balance.
Exactly, being true to yourself while having fun with style.
And I think this episode helps with that.
How so?
By showing that it's okay for men to care about how they look.
To be interested in fashion.
And to ask for help.
It normalizes those conversations.
Because fashion should be fun.
It should make you feel good.
It's about showing the world who you are.
So whether you're a fashion expert or a beginner,
just enjoy it.
Experiment, explore, have fun.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
It is. We've covered so much ground.
Vocabulary, culture, relationships, gender.
All thanks to that English Pod episode.
It was a great starting point.
To this amazing deep dive.
To our listeners, thanks for joining us.
We hope you learned something new.
And maybe even see fashion in a new light.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep expressing yourselves.
Until next time.